everybody. Welcome to another episode of Michelle Creations. Today we're going to make these really pretty coasters. So we've got white resin on the back, and then this is just a napkin that I've cut the sunflower out of, and then we decoupaged it onto the resin, and then we pour a clear coat of resin on top of it. So these are the napkins that we have. And I'll link where I ordered those at. And so you just take a single napkin out. And this is always easier said than done. But this is a 2-ply napkin. Sorry about the shaking. I have, for those of you that know me, I have tremors and I can't help it. So it is what it is. There it goes. And it helps to lick your fingers and get it just a little bit wet, and that kind of helps to separate those. So I always keep the back layer because you can always use that for cleaning up messes later. And then you can see here where I've taken hunks of this out of the napkin. We've cut it out and used it for this imprint. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and we're going to mix up some resin. And I just had my nails done yesterday. We got them all ready for Easter. So I'm going to put my glove on so we don't get my hands all messy. I use, today we're going to use JDiction resin. We're going to pour, hopefully we're going to mix up about 1.5 ounces of resin. So we're just going to pour it into our cup. It looks like I need to order some more resin. You can order this directly from their website. You can order it from eBay. And I know this looks like I'm eyeballing it, and I assure you I am not, because it would be really, really bad if I tried that. The cups have, and do as I say, not as I do. Get those little cups that have the measuring, the actual measurements on the side of the cup. What I'm doing with these, ooh, that's close, is I am using the bottom ring of the cup as my measuring tool, and then I'll hold them up side by side and look at them more carefully. I don't know if you can see this. It's got all the, hear those ridges? My cups have ridges. I'm using this very bottom ridge and I'm filling them up to that line. So it looks pretty good. And then what I do is I hold them up so that the cup tops are equal. And then I just take a peek at them. I know you can't see it from there, but look across at them, and then they're pretty balanced or pretty even. So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and get some stuff on my fingers. We're going to pour it all into one cup. And I'm impatient, so I like to get my heat gun out. Just warm the resin up. You don't want to get the resin hot. You just want to warm it up, because that makes it flow a little quicker, a little easier out of the cup. And I'm impatient, so I really want it to, and it also helps get all of it out, so you're not wasting any resin. And you're getting true measurements. I mean, you're truly getting all of it out of this cup. So that's always a good thing. You don't want to shortchange yourself on either part A or B. Okay. Throw that away. And then we're just going to simply mix it for a couple minutes. This resin says, I think, to mix it for 4 minutes. You're not going to have to sit here and watch me. I'm not going to make you watch me mix this resin. But essentially, you're going to mix it until this is all clear. I'm not going to worry about the bubbles because we're going to put it in the bubble machine. The debubbler, as I call her. And we'll get all the bubbles out of it. So you can be pretty aggressive stirring it. If you don't have a degassing or a debubbling machine, just stir it nice and slow like this. And it'll take a little while, but you'll get it mixed. It'll mix fine, and you won't have hardly any bubbles in it at all. Again, patience is not a virtue of mine, so I'm going to mix it up pretty quick here. You're going to see a ton of bubbles. Again, say as I do, not say it. Do as I say and not as I do. But once this goes clear, it's ready to go, and then we'll throw it in our bubble machine, debubbling machine. We'll throw some white resin in it, or excuse me, some white mica powder, and then we'll pour us the base for our sunflowers. The base does have to cure fully, so we won't be able to do this. This is not quick set. It takes about 24, it takes a good solid 24 hours to really get set up hard. Tomorrow about this time, we'll get it back out, and then we'll do our sunflowers. So I'm going to speed you up through this process, and we'll come back when we're ready to demold. Okay, now that our resin has debubbled, we are going to add white mica powder to it. This is HTV Orant. It's white. I got it on Amazon, and I believe it's about $6.99 as of the time of this video. When you stir this in, you're going to want to stir gently so you do not create more bubbles. Sorry, I'm off screen a bit here. Go ahead and stir your resin until it is completely integrated into or with the mica powder. So you're going to want to make sure you scrape the sides. You're going to want to go around the bottom and scrape the edges of the bottom, as well as go across the center of that bottom, scraping up any what might be clear resin across the bottom to integrate it into that white. Once we have it all poured, we are going to go ahead and pour it into the bottom of this square coaster mold, and then we're going to let it set up. I'm going to add more mica powder here in just a moment because I wasn't happy with the appearance of this one. It was just not quite solid enough. I wanted a solid white. I don't want to be able to see through it. So we're going to go ahead and finish stirring that in. I'm going to speed you up here. You don't need to watch me, and we'll be right back. Once we have poured it into the mold and it settles, I let it just naturally go to the corners on its own. We're going to let this set up and dry. This is what we're aiming for. And I've already taken our napkin and I cut the corner off. I traced one of these. And this is the piece that I got. So I've cut it out already. And now what we're going to do is, if you've ever done any kind of, excuse me, any kind of decoupage, that's essentially what we're going to do, except we are going to do it with UV resin. I just happen to use JDiction. It's always worked really well for me. You can use whatever resin you want. And what I'm actually going to put it on the bottom first. Just a real thin layer. And we'll come back to that. And then I'm just going to take one of my cheap brushes from Dollar Tree and spread that. I want it and make sure that it is everywhere. So make sure you get it into those corners, on the edges, and then bring it down the edge into this corner. But you want to make sure that napkin grabs all over. And then once you've got it in every corner, just spread it out. All right, and then once we got that spread out, I'm gonna let this sit for just a few minutes because I want it to self-level. And this will do that. So we're gonna warm it up just a bit to help warm it up and let it get a little thinner. Oh, I'm blowing out a napkin. Careful not to burn your resin and careful not to get your resin that's hardened already underneath hot because now it'll become pliable. All we want to do is we just want this to level out. And I'm just going around to make sure we got some in all, using the light to make sure we've got it all covered. And we do, as far as I can tell. Okay, and then to clean my brush out when I'm done, I'll just put it in alcohol. I'll wash it in alcohol and that'll take care of that. So we'll be back in just a few moments. All right, now that our resin has kind of leveled out, we're just gonna take our napkin and I'm gonna try very carefully, and it'll move once you put it down, so don't fret if it's not perfect. You just want it to lay down, and the most important thing is to try not to get any wrinkles in it, because that is much harder to, much harder to get out. Yep, and we are wrinkle free. So now I'm just going to go around and tap all the edges, get them nice and wet with that UV resin from underneath. And you'll see some wrinkles start to kind of form, and it's okay, because as it dries, it'll pull those wrinkles. Typically, it'll pull those out. I mean, it has in all of these, so it'll be fine. And you know what? Artwork isn't supposed to be perfect when it's handmade, so if you end up with a little wrinkle, I don't think in this one I had any either. I do have a couple little spots, though. Somehow I got some blemishes in the top of that one. I'll have to cover that one back up. I'll have to do another layer on that one. We'll show you how to do that. All right. And then I'm going to put one more thin layer of resin just on the very top. Super thin. It doesn't have to be thick at all, because most of your resin is coming from underneath. This is plenty just to put a real nice thin layer of resin over the top of this whole thing. And then again, we're going to let it set just for a moment and level out. And then we will throw this under the UV lamp. And we also want it to try and work as many bubbles out as we can. Let's slide my napkin that way. And it moves super easy. I'll just show you here in the corner. Here. I'll pull it away from this corner and towards this corner. See how it slid away there? It pulls away very easily. And then just push it back in the corner where it belongs. So if you do need to move it, it can be done. You just don't want to try you want to try to not have to. While we always say there's nothing perfect in the craft world, we want to try and make it as close to perfect as we can. All right, we're going to let that set and debubble and auto level on its own. And then we'll be back. We're going to put it under the UV lamp, and then we'll put our top coat on. All right. This is just a nail lamp that you get online. I think I even ordered this one on Temu. So they're super inexpensive. They're usually less than $20. I think I probably even spent maybe less than 15. We're going to turn it on the highest setting. It'll count down from 99 seconds. And then I'm actually going to take this outside and I'm going to put it on my bench in the sun. It's a cloudy day today, so we're not going to get a ton of sun, but it's going to be enough to help set that resin through that napkin, because we can't cure it from the underside because we have the white resin underneath. But we want to make sure that we cure it through the napkin as much as we can. So I'll leave it outside in the sunshine, probably an hour or so. And then we'll come in and we'll put the top coat, final top coat on it, and she's ready to roll. We'll be right back. All right, so I've gone ahead and mixed up my resin and put it through my debubbler. And now we're just going to simply top this off. Give that a second to work its way to the edges. There we go. There we go. And we just want to fill it just enough that it goes just a little bit of a dome over the top. That's actually really good. So I think a little more. You do not want to overflow it. There we go. Get over there, drip. All right, and there we have it. Now I'm going to cover it up with, I just use a bowl. It's a dish, actually, that I got from Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to cover it up. And that keeps all of the dust and the debris out of it, and then we'll come back when it's dry. All right, you've probably noticed that we have some changes here. We went ahead and I top coated this one. It had some speckles on the top of it. So I just put another coat of resin on top of that. I just put it up on a little riser there so that it doesn't drip off onto my table. And here is this one. I got a little bit of overspill here and here. It looks like we'll have to trim that off, but we can do that here in a minute. This, however, is the piece that holds all of these. So this is the coaster holder, I guess you'd call it. Is that an official title for this piece? So it comes with this to help maintain its shape. And I poured it in yellow because I made one earlier in white, and I used our napkins that we made our coasters from. I used it, and I used these corner pieces. So you can see the corner pieces, but since I did it on white, and the napkin background is a yellow, a pale yellow, you were able to see the yellow on the napkin, and I wasn't happy with that. So I went ahead and I poured it in yellow, thinking maybe, just maybe, the napkin, the yellow of the back, yellow of the napkin would not show, or at least it wouldn't show as bad, and we could decoupage that napkin pattern onto this instead of onto a white background. Hopefully that wouldn't show quite as bad. So always make sure you fold your mold right side back, inside, right side out. There we go, right side out. And then I put it back in here so it doesn't deform, because that's a pretty thin mold. And then I think it's still going to show up, I think, but not nearly as badly as it did on the white mold. It's going to be a lot less visible on this yellow mold, I think. Hopefully you can still see the yellow of my flowers, but we'll see. We'll put that on there and see what happens. So any of these that have a sharp edge on them, if they're not quite dulled, the one that we had that had the little bit of overflow, I just took a pair of scissors and I ran it around the edge this way and took that off. Comes right off, super easy. It's not hard at all. And then once I'm done with that, just take a nice nail file, and you want to run at a 45-degree angle around the edge. You don't want to go straight up and down or straight across the top, because that'll scratch your resin on the sides or on the top. And if you're going to put another layer on the top, that's not so much a big deal. But you definitely don't want to go over the edges because you don't want to scratch that up because that'll be in your final product. So for putting the front edge, for putting these flowers on the front of this, I just want to take, I have this, I believe it's just a water pen for like doing watercolors. And this is just water. I put it, you can also fill your pen, but I don't do this very often. So if I put it in the pen, it dries up before I ever use it. So if you just stick it in there, in the water, and then just gently pull along the edge. I don't have enough water on there. It's not pulling. Here we go. Now I can see it. Now it's sticking. There we go. And then just go around, and I always put my finger on my picture that I don't want to tear, and then just see how it's tearing on the on the water edge. Cover up the design, and then just tear that away, and it just tears right along the edge. And I want to put a torn edge on all of it because the torn edges blend so much better than a straight edge, like if you were to cut it. So you always want to put a torn edge on all of your edges instead of cutting it. Otherwise you're going to see those sharp cuts. So see how that went right along there? So we're going to go ahead and go the rest of the way around this flower. And even though there's nothing there, I want that straight edge off of there. Protect your flower. You don't want this perfect. You want it to look like it's a torn edge because it hides better. So the less perfect it is, the better off you are. Ooh, yeah, I got close to that one. Did you see that? Be careful. See how close I got here? That was close. Get off of there. And just keep going around here. There we go. Now we have our nice little design there. So it turned out really nice. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to decoupage this on there. I think that's going to look okay. You're going to be able to see it a little bit. And I keep saying decoupage, but we're not using glue. We're going to go ahead and use our UV resin. I use JDiction like we've talked about before. You use whatever you want to. This is just what I have on hand, and it's what I've used in the past, and I've always had really good luck. You do want to make sure that your napkin is nice and dry. You don't want to put this on a wet napkin. That will not work. And just take you a nice flat brush, and we're just going to flatten that across there, spread it across there. Just like if you were decoupaging, but we're using UV resin. And then I want that as close into that corner as I can get it. And it's forgivable. If you get it on there and decide you don't, oh, look at that. It's, oh, I'm worried I'm going to lose that yellow flower. It kind of, I guess it kind of shows up. I'm going to pull it down a little more. The green shows up really good. This yellow flower here is struggling a little bit to show through. But I think it's going to be okay. And then I just need a smidgen more. Just a super light. There we go. Just to put some on the top because I can still see the napkins a little bit on the dry side. And just like decoupaging, you want to make sure that that is nice and covered. Yeah, plenty of glue, if you will. And then I'm gonna push it down towards that corner. I'm done with the water. All right, and we'll put that under our UV lamp and let that dry. And then we'll be right back. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is when we have these tacked down, we have these tacked down with our UV resin. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to apply a thin coat of UV resin over this whole thing. You can see the edges here just a little bit where it dried and it wasn't quite wet enough. So I'm just going to apply that, and I'm going to use one of these. It's a micro brush. And what happens is it comes in a package with I don't know, probably 50 or 100 of these things in here. And you can sort of see the little Q-tip on the end of it. That's what makes them the micro brushes. And what I do is I go in and I just grab that Q-tip and I pluck it off at the end. And you end up with a nice tip on it. Kind of like a Q-tip or a toothpick, except you're not going to break the wood off in your resin projects. Been there, done that. Can you tell? All right, so we're just going to go ahead and cover this up. Spread it out. Put some UV light on it and finish it up. Find my lid, there it is. And see how that disappears underneath that resin? Now, I'm taking it out to the edge of the box. You don't want to go over the edge of the box, because if you do, you're going to break that surface tension and it's going to run down the side of the box, and we don't want that. We just want it to go to the edge. Now, you could take this box and you could personalize it. You could put a name of maybe somebody getting married. You could put their name on there, like a last name. You could put a wedding date on there if you wanted to take wedding photos and put wedding photos on their coasters. You can make this as personalized as you want to. In this case, I just wanted to do some sunflowers. Kansas is known for sunflowers. Boy, that resin right there is super crunchy. I did not get a smooth layer of that at all on that base layer. That's better. The bottom layer was very, I say crunchy because when you run that across there, you can hear it go quick, 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 quick. So I'm just dragging that resin out to the end. And when I go towards the end, or towards the edge, I'm just letting the brush slide straight across the edge. I'm not dragging it down with resin on it, 'cause that way we are not forcing or breaking that surface tension and forcing that resin to go over the edge. I just did not get enough resin over here. That's better. Got a little spot poking through right there. Here we go. A little bubble. Come on, bubble, get out of there. Now I'm saving this little area for last because there is just a little bit of a divot right here. And as soon as I put the resin to that edge, I want to get it under the UV lamp right away, because it'll start running off of this edge right here. I think it'll take a little bit because it's not a huge dip, but there's enough of one there's enough of one there that I am just a little bit concerned. Pop some bubbles here. All right. And here we go, over that last edge. And as soon as I get it on here, we're gonna throw that lamp on it and get it set. Get that bubble out of there. Come on, bubble, work with me here. Here we go. I just have one little spot right there. Looks like it keeps trying to come up. So turn our lamp on. Push that down. And here we go. All right, and there we go, we have it. The flowers are a little harder to see, especially these yellow ones, but the orange ones and those leaves, they show up really nice. And they look really great with the sunflowers in them. So there's the whole set in there, and I think it looks really nice. So what do you guys think? Do you like it? I did go ahead and put cork backs on them, so I will sign those, and they'll go together as a package, and they will go up on my Etsy store for anybody that might be interested. And I think they turned out adorable. Now keep in mind that when you make coasters, it's typically a couple weeks before you can use them. Check the instructions on your resin that you use. Make sure it is safe for coasters for heat and cold. Typically it'll take a couple of weeks for these to cure fully though, so make sure that you don't, if you do give them away right away, make sure that whoever you're giving them to, they understand that it's going to be a little while before they can actually use them. But if you make these a couple of months ahead of time for wedding gifts or whatever, these will be absolutely adorable. I think about anybody would be happy to get these as a gift. So, all right. Well, thanks guys so much for joining me today, and we will see you in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.